Another Sunday, another case of the Scary Start Work Week. Welcome to the newest edition of the Sunday Scaries. We have all your gore, lore, and more, covering all the latest horror happenings, slicing open all the latest horror news and dissecting it bit by bit, finding all those juicy innards. Pour yourself a nightcap and turn your fright light while we take you on a tour of terror. Yes,
What's going on?
just us today. No bottom guy, unfortunately.
Yeah, bottom guy's on his way back to Tennessee from obviously up here, Ohio. Came, visited, hung out with some of my friends up here, and yeah, we just had a good time, just spending the holidays together. You know, it's good old vacation. But yeah, they are should be close to getting home, but definitely after an 8-hour car ride, don't want to make them have to get on and entertain for the masses, even though I'm sure he'd love to.
He's a natural entertainer. Let's be honest here. Hopefully he's
Yes,
listening
yes.
as I compliment him.
But what's going on, everybody? We saw in the chat there while we were getting things started, just having a little technical difficulties. StreamYard keeps adding new features and they keep catching us off guard. So there was like I guess I from what I understand, you've been able to watch this thing in vertical mode the entire time, but now we have vertical mode activated for these streams on StreamYard. What that means, I guess you can watch it on your phone better. So there you go. But yeah, it was a little bit of a confusing mess there for a second. So pardon our tardiness. But I see everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Good to see everybody. What's going on? What's happening? What's happening? Luke, speaking of Thanksgivings, how was your Thanksgiving, sir?
Oh, it was wonderful. Same old. Got together with some family, so it's always a good time. And then you look at some Black Friday deals. I have actually not bought anything yet, so I'm just perusing at this time. But now we're kind of officially getting into December and holiday horror. So
We are, yes, and happy belated Thanksgiving to you all as well. I know some of us popped up in the chat on Discord, said our happy Thanksgivings, everything. Mine was good. Mine was just real easy, simple. The only thing that was a little different this year was I dropped my wife and son off at my mother-in-law's, who's hosting Thanksgiving early in the morning because my wife helps get everything ready with that, and I had to drive back here and continue working on the censored version for YouTube because they just wanted so much censoring on the new video. But I think I've found new ways to get around it. I think the new way I'm doing it might balance it a little bit more. I'm trying my best to find ways to get around as much of that as possible. But obviously, if you're on the Patreon, there's always the uncensored version there for you as well.
I'm sure after editing that on Thanksgiving, you were good and hungry because nothing gets my appetite going like Itchy the Killer. So
I was so desensitized by everything, but at that point I'd seen everything so many times, all the clips. I was just like, you know what? It's nothing. It's nothing to me. I'm not going to let this
just
ruin
another
my
day.
Thanksgiving. Just
Might as
another
well
day
be
at
on
the
Disney
office.
Plus.
Just watching people put stuff in their bodies and places that shouldn't belong and things that shouldn't go in there and all that lovely stuff. But I will say Ichi the Killer, great movie. Like that a lot. I think that's a very messed up, but I think definitely one of those Takashi Miike movies I'll remember. That audition, which actually got me on a bit of a kick with that. I might be talking again about Takashi Miike very soon.
He's got a lot of great stuff. A lot of odd stuff as well. Visitor Q being the one that's probably the most talked about on this channel since June. So a lot of great stuff. Really huge filmography, and there's a lot of great gems throughout his filmography because you always get the weird stuff or sometimes the extreme stuff, but then he just really has a lot of great storytelling because there is so much of it.
Yeah, I really liked just like going through with this one and just like seeing how just varied it is, because like I think I said it in the final cut of the video too that you guys saw, where I said something along the lines of just like it's a movie that just can go in 1 second be like the most brutal, gut-wrenchingly disturbing stuff, like just horrible, downright evil stuff, and then it's the wackiest thing ever, just slaps you across the face. Like that movie just has no like rhyme or reason to it. It's wonderful. I love it. And I think like all the characters are so like gross, but also just like very interesting. Like nobody is like very one-dimensional. Nobody's boring in that movie.
That was Itchy the Killer. I talked about it in my one video when I covered it for the Japanese horror stuff, but That was one of my first films getting into foreign horror or anything kind of the extreme at that point, because it was I remember watching it on one of those free trials for I think it was like HBO or something like that. I had no idea what I was in for, and I was like, "Holy hell, this thing's really crazy." But it was one of those things where if anyone has that HBO, free trial for like a week, they replaced the same film over and over. So once I had found Ichi the Killer, it played like a handful of times after seeing it initially, and I just kept turning it on. It was like such an enigma of a film. It's one I still turn on at least once a year just to check out, because I think he implements that weird dark comedy with some graphic violence, and just it's always wrapped up in a perfect package, I think. That's why I love Takashi Miike's stuff. You don't know necessarily what to expect. I remember going in and, I think it was when you were working at the exchange at the time. I think you had gotten me First Love. Do you remember that? It's
Yep,
a
yep. Mhm.
and, I was really excited for that one, and that one didn't disappoint. He does some
Mhm.
really unique stuff in there. He just has a really interesting way to storytell.
100%. Like, he's definitely got a voice of his own, and I think that's just why he stands out amongst a lot of his peers and stuff like that, and can kind of walk that line between something really serious, something really dramatic, but also then just go into something that's absolutely absurd and crazy. And like he just walks it so beautifully. Um, let me see this real quick, and then I want to jump back to a comment I saw. IFC used to have Asia Extreme late at night, and I loved it. Two back-to-back movies from various Asian countries, and and I found my love for Asian horror. Yeah, I think that IFC did a lot of the legwork for a lot of foreign horror. I would say in the 2000s, like they really did. When you go back and look at some of these things, like IFC kind of had a hand in bringing a lot of those smaller foreign films over into the states, and they're still doing great things with Shutter and everything right now, obviously. But like they definitely have been in the game for a long time, and I gotta respect them because like I don't think American audiences would be like getting a movie like Ichi the Killer, or even something like Audition or what's did he do Vampire or was that that was he didn't do Vamp, did he? Or was that what was that
Um,
one called?
um, uh, Darn it, I'm forgetting too, because I love that film, and now
Thirst.
Thirst.
He didn't
There
do
it is.
Thirst.
No,
No.
I don't.
That was Park Chan-wook. Yep.
Yep, there we go.
That is it. All right. So yeah, no, I love it, but I definitely definitely recommend anybody who wants to explore something that if you've never entered into like the splatter film, like I would say like the thing I also said in there that I want to know, have you seen Dead Alive, Luke?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I really feel like Dead Alive and Ichi the Killer go hand in hand with each other because they both
Sister
have
films.
those, not even that, they're like just friends at this point because like they're just good friends because like they have so many similarities in the sense of just how far they take the gore and the extreme body horror and all the craziness. But it's also one of those things where it's like they are just very, very like not like they're not just doing the standard, like we're just going to show a bunch of blood. They're showing you a bunch of blood with a bunch of other gooey, icky other things on top of it. They like don't leave anything to the imagination kind of movies.
I know they really do push the envelope. I know Brandon just mentioned the chat there, Tokyo Gore Police, which is another one that is like this a wild splatter film, and that's what I love about Japanese horror, even South Korean horror, just foreign horror in general, where they really do approach horror in a different manner. It's really hard to explain unless like you show someone a bunch of foreign horror, and just you get this variation of how it feels way different than American horror, because it just they tackle a lot of taboo issues in such a matter of fact kind of way that you don't know how to feel about it, because one moment, just like in Ichi the Killer, where you have the dark comedy, but then you have the graphic violence. So you're switching tones so quickly, your brain doesn't even have time to recalibrate. And when Dylan and I did that list on the channel about like, according to science, these are scariest films, they had that little asterisk to say we're not including any foreign horror. So that's one that if we ever circle back to that, for us to create like a foreign horror list would be really interesting, just because you have things like Terrified, you have Ichi the Killer, you have so many different things where you approach a lot of South Korean horror does the
Yeah.
supernatural really well, really builds that tension.
I was gonna
So
say when it comes to like their essence on how they tackle their like folk horror of their country, of like their homelands and stuff, like how they just kind of weave all that old stuff in those old stories and really make them fresh and new is always super exciting. They just seem to do it really well in South Korea. They have a really good eye for it. Like Exuma was one from just
yeah,
a couple years ago that they really
great.
did a good job with that. Like they do a lot of fun stuff. I did see one on here I did want to touch back on, but I do know we're kind of drifting into the Takashi Miike stuff. I know where was it?
Penelope
Yeah, oh
filmed
yeah,
it
it
very
was
well. The Iron Man, that man, that is a wild film. Real quick, I don't want to say digestible because it's like you really have to go back and it's a quick runtime for what you're being bombarded with, but really interesting imagery in that one.
I was gonna say this is the one for Penelope here. Gozu was the one that I'm have not seen yet, and I want to watch it. I think that's gonna be the next one of his, like of a fresh watch that I check out. I still haven't seen a lot of his movies because he's made so many.
There's so many, yeah. That's
But
like
like I plan on it. So,
I know
but I've seen a lot of the big ones.
that's a list that I'd love to tackle. Is like,
Takashi Miike or just like
yeah,
violent Japanese gore stuff.
yeah.
We
I
could do
love to
that. We could do a top
specifically,
10.
yeah. Like I'd specifically love to do like if we did just a it'd probably take us like 6 months to check every box in Takashi Miike's filmography. But if we were like to do a top 10 of his most gruesome films, maybe we could put that. Maybe summer. That sounds like a great summer.
I actually like that
Some-
idea. Maybe I don't know. Maybe people could let us know down below if that's a topic you'd want us to do, or because like Takashi Miike is one. Like maybe we could just do like a ranking of like certain horror or like just
yeah,
disturbing film directors, like just kind of their most gruesome stuff. That'd be fun. That'd be cool.
I think
Then we
so.
could actually plus then we could get your reactions to some fun stuff. No, I'm
Oh,
kidding. Yeah, I don't know. I
I'll
don't know.
throw up on camera.
I feel like you're not as expressive with your disgust. You tend to let it linger inside. You're kind of a cold individual on the outside, Luke. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
this.
That's how I try to be. Very stoic,
A very stoic character.
emotionless.
There was something up here because I wanted to touch on two things before we started hopping into the stories here, getting into our topics because we got a lot of fun stuff here. Out here it is. Stephanie had brought this up. Anyone loving Welcome to Derry? I freaking hate it. So disappointed. And I can say I have not seen the latest episode or the one that's premiering right now. I had the opportunity to. I just was very busy, and I did, on the other hand, watch the other thing that's kind of like Welcome to Derry, but the other one. But we'll talk about that too. But I haven't seen the new episode. So Luke, I know you and I were very positive with it coming off those 5 episodes. How are we feeling after episode 6? And how do you think? Do you think that there's more people who are kind of disappointed with this than you were expecting?
I think initially when we first got into a review and we had those first 5 episodes and that first one had come out, and I think even into the second one, it seemed like we were getting a lot of negativity toward Welcome to Derry in general. I think maybe people jumping into it thought Pennywise was going to be a big focal point. One of our big positives was that it was more so about the town and how it's affected, and then we eventually get Pennywise. I think was episode 5. Um, he had popped up finally. So I liked making us wait for that. So I think typically when we get into the It franchise, it's always been a sticking point that the CGI just doesn't necessarily work all that well. And I think you still have that in Welcome to Derry, but they're a little more strategic and there's like a means to an end to it. So I can forgive some of it, but some of it is fairly distracting. And now after episode 6 and to see where that goes, we're at a crossroads for me at least, where they're adding in some texture, some lore to something that we haven't ever got really a reference point to, at least on film or anything like that. So I don't know where this is going to go. I'm really sitting in the middle. I was more positive going to those first 5 episodes. I'm not necessarily negative going after episode 6. It just kind of what they're adding in. I don't know if I'm fully on board. We're really going to have to see how that plays out because hey, we've all watched these TV series where we're on a great run, and then just one episode really tanks it. So I'm not saying that episode 6 does that, but they're adding in some stuff that I don't know if I'm necessarily thrilled about.
Interesting. Yeah, I was planning on watching it, but then I ended up doing something else that will show you guys. I think we can show a little teaser of that thing I sent you earlier. I uploaded it
Absolutely.
if you want to. All right, cool. We'll save that towards the end. But I was working on something, got a little caught up, and then I had to make dinner. Take care of the kiddo and stuff. And before I knew it, it was about time. I and it's funny because Erica just honestly just brought it up. Perfect timing here. Um, this is one of those things where it's like I need to like get a I 1 second here. Um ugh, sorry. I had to re-rack my brain and just completely rebooted. So I'm just like what I was saying was I was interested to see like how the positivity on Welcome to Derry has started to flip, and then to kind of see that almost happen as well with Stranger Things has been kind of interesting because like the first night, obviously the hype was there, but everybody who like saw the first 2 to 3 episodes was like, oh my god, this is great. And then ever since episode 4, I heard some middling things. I have my opinions on both. As far as I know, I've not seen episode 6 of Welcome to Derry. I'll watch that tonight, and I like that. I think it's good so far, but even hearing Luke have some reservations there, now I'm a little worried. What are we stepping into? Because I thought that it was a nice pace. Again, I also think that one of the reasons why maybe we really liked what we saw, Luke, is because we got to binge it.
Yeah.
We didn't have to wait week to week. I was said in our review, I wonder if that's going to hurt this show at all, because I feel like the 5 episodes that we got, we were able to watch one right after another, and the story just flows through. Like Pennywise shows up at the end, and it's like, oh, this feels right at home. But I could see how watching the show week to week, it's just not enough. It's not enough. It doesn't keep any of the interesting stuff going at enough of a pace that's keeping people interested. I'm curious if that's going to continue as we go along into further seasons.
Especially when we've had those first 2 films and Pennywise is such the focal point. When we get into anything that is it franchise, that's really what I think a lot of people are expecting. So kind of making them wait over a month from the debut of Welcome to Derry and then finally getting Pennywise, it could be a long wait. Like you said, I think I finished it in a weekend, to be honest. I just kept going, and I thought the Welcome to Derry is pretty bingeable in that aspect of it. But we were privileged in being able to kind of see it all at once like that. So, and then getting back into it, I was like, I had to remember some things that were going on. And episode 6, like I said, it doesn't feel like it's tanking it, but it's adding in this additional thing that you have to play it really safe, or really respect the lore. And I'm interested to get your thoughts on it, Dylan, just because it is something that feels so different than what we're going to get, but we're getting more texture to, the background of Pennywise and things like that. So that's what I'm kind of excited. Again, it really just depends. You got to pick and choose. You got to make the stuff count if you're adding it into the lore. But yeah, it's like that. I could see. I'm excited to see. Well, I don't want to say excited, but very intrigued to see what the consensus is after episode 6 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna watch it right after this. Like, I have it queued up on my phone, so like, I'm just gonna watch the HBO version and just go from there. And then tomorrow morning we should get access from Warner Brothers for 7. So if I really need that closure, maybe that'll be best for me. Because again, I think that one of the problems we're having just right now when it comes to streaming is everybody is on a different schedule.
Yeah.
You know how like television and movies used to be the standard back in the day. You'd have things that were very established. Television was episodic. It was on TV. You knew what to get. You had commercials. Everybody knew what was going on. Most network television stuff was like 22 episodes a season. It was like we had a standard pretty much. And I know that fluctuated and varied depending on series, especially when you get to like HBO stuff. But it's been interesting ever since we got into the mix with Netflix. And then they took over. Suddenly, every series was drop it all at once. And it wasn't until the pandemic that we started to get and Disney Plus again week to week. And it's so weird because now I just feel like is there really any reason that we need Derry to be week to week? I just feel like if it serves the story better and it gets things moving and makes it a more satisfying experience, I would have wanted that, you know? And I wonder if, let's say, because now I want to transition into talking about Stranger Things, because I did watch all that. I'm really loving it right now. I'm not gonna lie. I literally had I sat there in one of our thumbnails I worked on. I haven't shown you yet, Luke, but I said I used the Doctor Strangelove thing of how it's like it was just how I learned to stop worrying and just love Stranger Things, because that's just how I felt this entire first 4 episodes. I was just like, man, I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know if it's the nostalgia. I was so like whatever passe about the whole thing. But like sitting down after episode 2, I was just like, I like this. This feels good. This feels dangerous. I feel like Stranger Things has consequences again. Like I'm interested. So I'm very curious to see what you think there.
Well, my view on Stranger Things has been for the past few years, ever since after the first season, really has been they play it safe. They don't want to kill any of the core characters. They introduce a new character at the beginning of a season so that they can kill them off at the end of the season. So we still have our core group. And I think going into the final season here, typically we start seeing everyone drop like flies. And so I think maybe that's the excitement going into the final season here, is that they don't have to worry about a season after this. They don't have to worry about core characters carrying anything. So we can just start killing everybody off if that's the route they're going to go. And I feel like, everyone's on the table. And that's why I think this one is a way more exciting watch. But I'll agree with you where I never necessarily soured on Stranger Things. It just kind of became, it's fine. I never necessarily look forward to it outside of the episode. You know what I mean? Like getting into the episodes, easy to get into, always fun to watch. But when that
It
first season,
became I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think the perfect way to describe this is it became a victim of its own like size and hype. Like it became a victim of its own fan base, in my opinion, where people, it's a good show and it's really good. And it was great to launch Netflix like original series, but like people made it out to be like the greatest thing ever. And there was so much exposure, and what it did to pop culture and horror for like the next 3 years of everything being so hyper 80s. It was a lot. And that's where I think a lot of that distaste comes from.
I think the Stranger Things franchise in general is just kind of unique kind of property just because of what it went through, where I don't think it got so big after the first season and so much hype going into the second season. Everyone was excited, everyone was talking about it. And then, you got into that season 3, which everyone loves. So then the hype just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think if you had followed that trajectory, I think you would have been fine. If this would have been in, condensed kind of, if starting in 2016 ends in 2022, like that's where we get everything all wrapped up, where it's like, it kind of kept going, oh, something else happened, something's delayed, now that this is pushed back, or we're not going to see season whatever until this time now. So it became so big and it became such a focal point that for so long that people got tired of it. I think, you know what I mean? It's like, oh gosh, Stranger Things is still around, and the joke was they're all going to be like 36 by the time
Yeah.
we get to the final season. So it kind of just became a little bit of a running joke in a sense. Whereas I think if this was 2016 to 2022, it was when it wrapped up perfectly. Everyone been like, probably one of the greatest things ever. And I don't think when you actually get into the episodes, you forget about all that past stuff, because I think it just kind of affected the anticipation for the final season, because it's like, oh, we've been here for so long, we're finally getting it. And then it's like, wait, we're getting 4 episodes, then we're also getting another 3 or 2, whatever it is, and then we're getting another 2 toward the end of the year. And it's like, okay, they're staggering it out. It's even longer of a process than what we were anticipating. So I think maybe that's affected it a little bit. But once you finally get into the episodes, because I'm with you, I don't even think it took me the second episode. I think in that first episode, I got that tugging at your heartstrings. I'm in the 80s. I'm really liking what they're doing here. You know what I mean? Like you get that spark of creativity, because this is the space that I want to live in, and I think I instantly got that as we got back into Stranger Things. I don't know where the rest of the season's going to go after this. Like I said, I think everyone's on the table. I was not necessarily let down by the end of the 4th episode. I was just like, when we kind of finish it off like we're staggering this, I was like, I wanted a bigger, I guess, end it with an exclamation point, which we kind of did something, but I felt like we were going to get something bigger.
I think, and yes, Silhouetted, this is going to be commented on just because you mentioned Midnight Mass. So, but no, to respond to you there, I could say that I agree, but also I think the reasoning is probably because this isn't just a part one, part two. This is a part one, part two, and then season finale that we have to wait for again, which is like a week. So it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like the one that they drop on Christmas Eve or whatever, that's going to be wherever that ends. That's going to be the holy shit moment where it's going to be like, and I think that might be why, and it might be something that makes a broader sense of why they ended it like they did now as we get more of the picture painted. At least I hope so.
Well, and I understand that, but I'll push back on that a little bit just because, hey, we are in the final season. If you're going to stagger something and have 4 episodes, and then we're going to do another stop, and then finally get the finale, well, I think that presents 4 big or 2 huge things that we can leave on cliffhangers and then finally wrap everything up. And I don't think they 100% hit it in terms of the end of episode 4 for me.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. Like, and I'm just playing more or less devil's advocate there and saying
Shut
I
up,
think that because
Dylan.
like, okay, God, because then I was gonna say like where my head immediately goes to is I want to know whose idea this was to stagger the episodes like this, because like to me it just seems like a Netflix decision. It seems like they pushed for it and maybe we're like please so they could stretch this thing out and make this like a basically an entire month long ordeal for them all through the holiday season. Because like if you look like this seems so coordinated. I mean, go to every big box store right now. There's just Stranger Things out the wazoo. Like you walk into the DVD Blu-ray section of Walmart and it's just like everything is Stranger Things over there. Like my son, that was one thing we haven't talked about, Luke, is Atticus has really gotten into Stranger Things because he's been watching it with me just like passively. He's 3, so him just kind of running around watching it while I'm watching it, but like he fell in love with the Demogorgon, which I will say, not to get into spoilers, obviously you've seen that they're in the trailer. I honestly want to say that was one of the biggest like positives I had out of this is I really like the use of the Demogorgon in this. It actually feels like it's not a throwaway, just a villain again. It actually had like it felt like it had some intimidation, especially in that first episode. I actually felt like they made the Demogorgon kind of scary again, which felt very good. We haven't had that in a while. I felt like after season 1, it just became like Demogorgons are a thing. We'll kill them in 5 seconds. They never felt threatening to me again.
Yeah, and I think
go ahead.
I think Demogorgon wise, where it's equivalent to Alien Romulus, where we talked about the face huggers, and it's like they kind of actually made them scary again, where they were just kind of this pawn, this set piece for a little bit. But I think this one was a method to the madness, and I think I have to look it up. I think the Duffers. I thought there was an article out there that the Duffers had pitched a weekly release for Stranger Things, but Netflix poo-pooed on that.
That would have probably made, because you look at that first season, that would have made more sense. Yeah. Season 1, I think, would have benefited from a weekly release because it's like I think like having that like they almost felt like perfect little endpoints as to where like season 2 got kind of messy with that, and I feel like ever since season 3 it's kind of just been like they found a groove with the storytelling where it just doesn't, because like I'm not gonna bullshit you guys, there is a point in this where I don't know what happened, but I felt like I watched episode, it had to have been episode 3 into episode 4. I did not realize that there was an episode change until the title cards started coming back up again. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I thought the scene just continued on. I don't know if anybody else had that experience. I was watching it on this computer right here and it just kind of bled right in. And I just swear, like, my brain timed out. I was like, what happened there? But just so I can get this comment off the screen, this is a perfect example, Silhouetted, of yes, you can't do something like a Midnight Mass is an episode by episode kind of release. I feel like the show would have died. I feel like you can't do that with kind of like how Mike Flanagan does his stuff, which we're going to be talking a little bit about some of his future projects, but a project he just got off the ground, which I guess we can kind of talk about that too a little bit, is how they're going to release that. But I know everybody's talking Stranger Things now, and actually got some love for Creep Tapes, which I know you wanted to touch on that as well. But I guess just to kind of give them a little taste before we do our official review this week, where are you sitting overall with the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things?
I'm excited for what the rest of the season's going to hold. Like, I think it was pretty good character building. We got really right into the issue. I guess we didn't have any time to waste getting into what we're going to be dealing with the final season here. It's sometimes like we have that more of a character setup kind of going through their daily lives, but I don't even think we get that. I think like within 20 minutes, if I remember correctly, we're in the situation that we're going to be in
Mm-hmm.
throughout the rest of the season. So it moved at a fast
We,
pace. That's
we don't
why,
waste any time. Yeah, we get right into things. I
and
like that.
I think maybe that was why my expectation for something that we were gonna really be like our minds were gonna be blown by the end of episode 4. Maybe because we did not waste any time. We didn't romance it. We just got straight into the situation. So maybe that's what I was expecting as we got farther into the actual season. But I think they set the table rather nicely. I think, the stakes that we're leaving episode 4 off are really interesting. We've opened up a lot of different avenues that we can go down. So I like where we're headed. I'm excited. Before, like I said, when getting into Stranger Things, never really soured on it. Just kind of was like, oh yes, the latest season's coming out. It wasn't anything I was counting down the days
Yeah.
for. But I think this certainly has me excited to get into the rest of the episodes in December. So I think this has done its job in anticipating or building that anticipation, getting us excited again after so long. We've been so far removed from Stranger Things when was the last time? Was it 2022?
It was 2022.
So
It's
it
been
has
three
been a minute.
years.
Yeah,
It's been
but
a while, dude.
I'm rejuvenated. I'm certainly intrigued to see how this thing's going to finish up.
Man, this is one of those things to me where, again, I was just like you. I was like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm kind of just here based on obligation. And I found myself by the end of it, just like, this whole weekend of coming back from Thanksgiving, starting to watch Stranger Things, and then just like getting into it. It just gave me that feeling of like the purity of that lead up. And I know some of you will have other references to this, and some of you will probably cringe at this, but like the lead up I had to like the Force Awakens, that I guess you'd say fall into December, Christmas time, where it was just like you had this something to look forward to, something anticipated. And I guess, again, I'm a little poo-pooing on how they're releasing this overall, but I think like it hasn't failed yet. So my actual excitement for the next half is pretty damn good. It's actually so high that if this next half is really solid, I would consider going with friends, if you would be interested to uh going that night on the 31st and seeing the final in theaters. Like, I think it's cinema quality. I think that if everything's, really holding strong, I would consider doing it if it was close by. So it's like, it's one of those things for me where it's like, I think I'm bought in now. I think I'm excited and I feel good about it. So, and I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to be pretty meh.
And I think maybe that was they realized they had to win the audience back after being such a long layover from season 4 to say, let's get the good faith of these 4 episodes, really get people excited for the finale here, so we didn't just drop it all at one big chunk and then everyone just binges it and gets out of there before we can really build that anticipation. But yeah, I think this one's got me back in the saddle for Stranger Things. I'm excited to see what they're gonna do. I'd go check this one out in the theater. I'll dust off my 11 costume. I think I still have that
That
around.
would be honestly incredible. I would, so if you do that, if you are willing to commit and this next season is good, I will literally order on Amazon, like whatever, or no, I can go to Target and probably find it. They have those jackets and stuff with like the radio station and everything that they had there. I'll like get a hat. I'll dress up all 80s and go with you, so that way we can be that. We'll do a whole tour video or whatever.
Hell yeah, I don't think I got rid of my costume, so I'm gonna go look
You
for it
better not have.
over
That was
this week.
awesome.
Yeah, I know that was that
What a
was an
fucking
intricate.
time.
I still couldn't believe I got my gum stuck in that wig hair. It was but
Yep. And then still just getting to meet Millie Bobby Brown. She still probably has that photo on her phone somewhere.
oh yeah. It's like
No.
you remember me? Cleveland Comic Con?
I'm kind of a big
You throw
deal.
your phone.
uh, um, Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you, Souls. Awesome, man. Thank you. I love the love that we're seeing also in here for creep tapes. I feel like nobody is watching this show outside of the horror community, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that we're keeping it alive because, like, yeah, the creep tapes. I think our review went out. What was that, Tuesday for that one? And like, dude,
Yeah.
that I love that show so much. Like, it was one of those things where I liked the first season and then we came back to it and I was like excited for season 2, but again, just like Stranger Things, I wasn't like, I was just kind of like, okay, what are we going to do, kind of thing. And I was so blown away with some of the stuff we did. But I will say, like I said in our review, the final episode I think is a little on the anticlimactic side of it, but it's so worth watching. It's so worth every investment.
Absolutely. And, I think going into the creep tapes, because it happened in November, we didn't even get a moment to breathe coming out of October. And we're like, oh, yeah, I remember our discussions were like, creep tapes are coming up, and it's like, oh, we have to make sure to get that. So we didn't really get the build the proper anticipation for it just because we were getting out of October. But man, what a great series. When we released that on the channel, I was so happy to see, a handful of people be like, I haven't even checked this out or didn't know it existed until our review popped up. So I'm glad that people are actually checking that one out because it is one of the best horror series on television right now. Mark Duplass just says, what an understanding of that character and what they're able to just tackle in that in terms of like mental health and what that guy's going through. It's like, the dark comedy in that always hits, and the timing is absolutely perfect. So it's like when you're able to meld that dark comedy in with the actual horror itself, like episode 2, Dylan, you mentioned it a handful of times, and it's one of those things where when I watched that, I kept like timing out things of how long we were sitting in scenes of just talking with characters. And episode 2, where he's talking to the police, it goes on for like ever, but it is such a fun scene where you don't even know how much time has passed until you're actually timing it. And that's the beauty about creep tapes is it's so well done, it's so well acted, and the situational comedy is so horrifying that it passes. You could do a whole episode in which, the episode 2 deals a lot with talking with the police, and that is a good chunk of the episode, but it breezes right by.
Yeah, it's one of those for me, man, where it's like I love when I'm watching something and you just have that moment of like I have no clue what the hell's gonna happen next. And like that's that show in a nutshell, but like that episode especially because it's like I don't think we've ever seen him brush that close with law enforcement before. I don't know if we have. I can't remember. It's like, and it's just one of those things where it's like, dude, that was intimidating. That was exciting. It was definitely showing some, a little bit of their strengths as far as stretching their legs with the concept. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. But um why don't, since I know Brandon brought this up here, I really appreciate it. I think that's super fun. It would be nice to set, especially because like a lot of the guys you mentioned there, all of us, we've all had some kind of a hand in covering the Pooniverse stuff in a big way. So maybe when Pooniverse comes out, we could do some large panel like review with that, like get a couple people
Yeah.
together, maybe have a couple special guests on and try to just do some kind of big talking about once Pooniverse comes out. I don't know. We'll see. Stranger things have happened. Oh, yeah, you got it. Anyway, but why don't we hop into the topics since we are almost 40 minutes into the episode? Haven't done this in a while. Usually we've been pretty studious and getting right into it. So I like that though. That means we've had a lot of stuff going on. But Luke, take us away with the first story. You start with whatever your heart desires.
Well,
Yes, sir.
since Brandon brought up the twisted horror universe, we might as well hop into something that is pretty adjacent, as we have the twisted childhood universe. Now we're getting the what is it, twisted serial killer universe, apparently, where we're going to be seeing this take on actual serial killers and kind of meshing them with random subgenres, I guess you would say. We have 2 upcoming titles coming out, Ted Bunny and Jeffrey Dahmer coming out. So we're going to kind of get this haunted doll horror mixed with Jeffrey Dahmer. And I don't really know what this holds. I was really surprised when this had come out because it wasn't even anything that I had thought of. We had a discussion, was it last week, about Winnie versus Mickey?
Mickey,
And it
yeah.
was like, okay, so this is where public domain horror is going to be going. This wasn't even something that could even blossom as some sort of subgenre. And then this popped up and it was like, Jeffrey Dahmer, I'll give it to him. I thought that was pretty funny. I'm already freaked out. I'm freaked out by haunted dolls. And I think this one, yes, the screenwriter for Popeye the Slayer Man, John Doolin, will be scribing the Jeffrey Dahmer
That was
script. So,
one of the better mid-tier ones, I guess you
so
could
you
say.
know, maybe he'll have a handle on what this needs to be, because Popeye the Slayer Man was not bad at all. It was just okay, wasn't a disappointment. Just kind of fell mid tier, I think, of public domain stuff. So I don't know. When you look at stuff like this, we've seen something like was it Jack Frost from the mid 90s, where we have a killer that is stuck in the snow and becomes a killer snowman. So we've seen this concept be fun, but I don't know necessarily if we need to be taking them off of actual serial killers.
I don't know, like, I want to talk to the people behind this one and just I need to know, and I hope that they're honest with this if this is the case, because like I think that like this is one of those things that just like eh, there's so much controversy surrounding the official shows, the monster series. Who's the showrunner on that? That's always
Oh,
getting
isn't it
bashed.
Ryan?
Ryan, whatever the hell.
Murphy, maybe? Is that right? Or am
Ryan
I?
Murphy, yeah, that sounds right. But like, he is always people are always getting up in arms about his series and how they're like making all the killers sexy and weird and doing all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, I think to a degree there's parts of that that definitely like I'm like, yeah, fuck that, not really interested. But I don't really watch those ones. But it's like this is just full blown like you know what was funny about the Twisted Childhood universe stuff, the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey stuff, is that it was taking horror to an otherwise very passe kind of childlike just we're just having fun, we're teddy bears and gumdrops and all this shit, and we're making it scary and we're making it horror filled. This is taking serial killers and going the opposite direction and making them dolls and rabbits and then making them killers on top of that. Like, I don't know, man. This just feels in a way tasteless, but also kind of goofy, that it's like, I think we've jumped the shark a little bit.
Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of struggling with this, because something like a Jack Frost, where it's a completely fictional serial killer that crosses over with a killer snowman, it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's its own thing. It's creating its own lore. It's not being pulled from anything. So I always look at a lot of the established serial killer stuff where everyone kind of looks at them as sometimes heartthrobs depending on the actor, and it kind of is like, well, that's a little unsettling. Or having your favorite serial killer that's based on an actual serial killer is like a little bit off-putting, just because those events did really happen. And when you start listening to, I used to listen to, I haven't listened to it in a minute, but it's like the Serial Killer podcast, and it was like some of the most horrific things that you could ever imagine actually have taken place. So that stuff sits with you, especially when you know it's based off of things that are real. So I don't know how much fun you can have with this. I think obviously it's going to be name recognition with Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer is why they want to get this out here, and instead of just pulling from a fictional serial killer, it's not as sexy, I guess. Nothing based off of real events. So I understand the method. I just don't know if it's real, if the juice is going to be worth the squeeze here, because we have no reference point. I think there might be a couple of stills for Jeffrey Dahmer out there right now. There was one from the article I pulled this from, but it didn't look. I didn't feel too enthusiastic about it in any sense. So I don't know. I think this one. This is the Twisted Serial Killer universe. I don't think it's gonna be as lucrative as the Twisted Childhood universe.
Yeah, I feel like okay, so I feel like this is so I'm tired of people taking everything, including themselves, seriously. I mean, I wouldn't say that like me or Luke even hinting towards the fact that this is, kind of just a shitty idea, and just kind of being like, again, is the juice worth the squeeze, is not us taking things too seriously. It's like, it is a fact of the thing. It's like you're tackling subject matter that, like Gracie set up here, is, there are real people who are still alive who are affected by this. There are families of these people. And it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, do we already have them doing it on TV with everybody turning them into sex symbols and all this stuff? It's like, do we really need to do this with like the twisted childhood universe kind of stuff? It's like, we already shit so hard on that. And it's like, some of those are actually pretty fun, but like now it's like, again, the same issue I had similarly to last week with the Winnie the Pooh and versus Mickey thing, where it's like, it's just another variation it's a copy of a copy of a copy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, we're just going down this rabbit hole because it's like, what's something that I can throw into a title generator, and this is what I get. You know what I mean? It's the twisted childhood. This is going to sell, it's going to catch headlines, which it did. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know if that's necessarily the way you should be looking at that. It's like, we're not taking this very seriously at all. That's kind of our main criticism of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where it's like, I remember tackling August Underground for one of my, the disturbing found footage lists, and thinking, oh, it's just kind of disturbing for the sake of being disturbing. And then, diving down the method to the madness of Fred Vogel and saying, I want you to feel icky about these killers. I don't want you to try and resonate with them or say, oh, I actually like these characters. They're supposed to be despicable and they have no redeeming qualities. And after I learned that, after watching the film, I think I approached that film a little bit differently, because, yeah, it is disturbing and it is shocking, but he's getting the desired effect. And you do leave that film with the message that he wanted to stress. And I think that's where that film does excel. Yeah, it's like certainly not a rewatchable film or to dive into, but it really does have that sticking point to say, we shouldn't really resonate with these characters. They're not Stu Macher or Billy Loomis.
Mhm.
It's like, that's where the tough part of this becomes, where it's like, hey, I can enjoy Jeffrey Dahmer properties, in terms of like the storytelling and character
Yeah,
development, having,
absolutely. Yeah.
getting the information that is out there. And but then I think you have to walk that line. That's another fine line of something. And I don't know necessarily if Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy are gonna stress the point that I think, they have the integrity of what we should be upholding these stories, and victims that have went through this, or family members that have victims of their family, and I don't know. This one, I just don't think this. I think this could be a Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and then this said universe is done.
Yeah, and I think like, just, it's also one of those things where if you're gonna talk about like this being satire and everything, I think the jury's still out on that for the most part, because like, it's one of those things where we don't know that necessarily. It's like, if this is satire, like, yeah, it could be really funny, it could be done really well, but like, at the same time, do I think that's what they're gonna go for? I doubt it. I think it's gonna be more name recognition, and this is going to be a killer bunny movie and a killer doll movie. Like, that's what it's gonna be, and if that's the case, then it's like, who cares? Like, I don't, it's like, we don't need that really. Like, I don't think anybody really is clamoring for that. And then, yeah, it's like, just going back to it, like he said here, like Brandon said, it's, at least with Mickey versus Pooh, it's fictional. Even if there's just another copy of another copy. Yeah, and I agree. Uh, let's see. Oh, this is actually a great point here. I do want to touch on this because like, there has been that that inkling of, if we need to get somebody, or when we initially hopefully get somebody to take over the role of Freddy, if the actor they have playing Vecta, Jamie, was that Bauer,
Yeah.
if he could take the role. I think I have some thoughts on that. I do. I don't know if do we want to do that here, or should we save that for the Stranger Things video? I don't know. We could do
Oh,
that here. We'll talk about
yeah.
it.
It's up to you.
Let's see. Uh, da, 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 da. What's this? When someone can say truthfully that he is void of any wrong and not wearing any clothes made in sweatshops or ever buying anything that exploits anybody, I'll give the value to his offense. Good luck. Okay, great. Then I can't help you there, friend. I guess just do your thing. Um, love true crime content, but you need to be respectful about more recent cases. You don't want to traumatize families all over again. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Love that. Okay. Now, Luke, or actually, yeah, why don't we talk about this real quick? Because I think, as far as people who could take up that mantle, he could do a good job. I think the best thing he has going for him is that he's younger than a lot of the people we've heard in the running for it. So you could probably get a lot of mileage out of him if you wanted somebody to pick up that role and you were planning to do more Freddy stuff down the road. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think he could be an interesting choice. I think as Vecna, he plays that role rather well, but I don't have a reference point. I don't think for the rest of his filmography. I don't know what else he's been in, unfortunately. So I'm not sure. I can't really base it off of that, in terms of a range of performance. I think, again, he plays Vecna really well. I think, when we get into the Upside Down and the way that's presented, it really does have that feel for Nightmare on Elm Street to a certain extent, I think. So you kind of get that vibe, because I was even thinking that while watching the latest season here earlier today. I was like, we were in the Upside Down. I was like, oh, that this really does have a Nightmare on Elm Street vibe to it. So I could see him being a front runner for that, especially coming off of Stranger Things if they ever decide to recast and do another Freddy Krueger. I wouldn't be disappointed in it, but I need to see a little bit more from him in terms of that range, because every time we go back to Freddy Krueger, I'm always like, well, which version are we gonna do? Robert England, that progression of that character being, from what it was in the very first one to what we get by, the fourth is a different interpretation. I think they all work, but it's like in terms of who we're casting to play said character, it's like, which version are we going to want at that point? Because I'd love a more serious Freddy, but I think Freddy has just become such a big icon that we're so used to the one-liners as well. So it's like, where is the starting point there? I don't know.
That's truly what I think is going to be tough because, I agree 100%. Like if a lot of the people that they're picking, it's going to be really tough for them not to just go more of a serious take on the character. And because like that just feels like where it's going to need to go for a modern day. But also it's like, it's just one of those things where I don't know, but as far as like just people who I think could embody the role really well, it's like, yeah, I think he's got the look, and clearly with him being Vecna and everything, that's a very Freddy coded character. He's got a very strong, like I guess presence there. He's got a very strong like outing for people to say, yeah, he makes a good contender. The only other thing I would worry about is maybe I don't know if he'd be interested in it, considering Vecna and Freddy kind of very similar in nature. Is it going to be too similar of a role for him? But they are also doing a lot of him still. I guess I can't say that because spoilers. So it's some of those things where it's like there's different levels to it, of course. But I guess yeah, ultimately it's going to come down to what is this new variation of Freddy going to look like? And how are we going to accept that? Are we going to accept it? Is it going to move forward, or is it going to be another stop start? I also did want to just say that I agree here. Jackie Earl Haley is I wouldn't say I agree with that, but I do think I thought you were going to say it was like he did a good job of his performance. Yes, he did. I actually think Jackie Earl Haley was not the problem with that movie. It was a lot more with the writing and everything. So
Absolutely. I think Jackie Earle Haley, stunning performance. Not my favorite. I mean, Robert England is the
oh yeah,
go-to. You
but
grew
it's
up with
very
him.
it's also very different. It just has
Yeah, that's
shades of Robert
that.
Englund, but that's what he went for.
And that's what it's like to remake the film. I have problems with that film in general, but I think to remake that film at the time and what we had been through with Robert England, it was the complete right call to cast someone like Jackie Earle Haley and have that sort of
True
performance
character
from him.
actor, somebody who's going to commit wholeheartedly. Like, look
Yeah.
what he did with Rorschach. Like, even if you're not a Watchmen fan, he really fucking goes for it. Like,
Very different feel from what we had seen from that film to Robert Englund's Freddy versus Jason. You know what I mean? In two different kind of interpretations, but I thought the remake version really did instill a lot of fear, and I wish that film overall beat by beat was way better than what it was, because I think that could have really reignited that franchise, because I think he would have been a great vessel as Freddy Krueger, and to really go through that for a couple of films to see what we would get, because I really did enjoy his performance as well.
Yeah, it's I think that it's unfortunate, but also it's just sign of the times with those movies. I mean, we didn't know that it was going to be like a one and done for that. We thought maybe they get another shot at it, because there's a whole bunch of issues I have with that film. We might have to cover it eventually down the road, I imagine. So we'll get there. Um, I have it higher than the original film. I want the more serious take with a new portrayal. No, I get that, and I that tracks with your tastes, Brandon, from what I know. So it's like that makes sense. You tend to like the more updated, darker stuff, which I get a lot, and I think like that definitely. If they did it right, if they did it in a modern day, I know some people wouldn't agree with us, but I agree with Luke when it has to be something that's a little bit more grounded or serious. If that's the way we're gonna go, that's just the only thing that makes sense. But hey, we still have to wait and see if they're even going to make another Nightmare on Elm Street, because that's still up in the air, I guess. Whatever. How hard is that? I don't know. I don't have a transition here. Luke, take us
Wait,
away.
well, didn't Mike Flanagan want to do a Nightmare on Elm Street?
He did want to do a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. There
Well,
you
he's
go.
a little tied up right now.
A
He
little
did.
bit.
He just finished a Stephen King property called Carrie. In case anyone has heard of it, I don't know. It's a little property, but yeah, the TV show there has apparently wrapped up, and now we're getting some Exorcist news as we have Scarlett Johansson joining the cast. Now, nothing has been said in terms of what the story is going to be or what this reboot, remake, requel. I'm not sure where we're at with the Exorcist franchise after David Gordon Green's, but we're getting something and we're moving forward. So I think a lot of people were positive on the casting of Johansson, and I'm intrigued to see what this is going to mean. I think what Blumhouse and Atomic Monster, were they the ones that put this big bid on the Exorcist franchise, or was it Blumhouse by themselves?
I'm
You
pretty
remember?
sure it was Blumhouse who bid on this one, because I think they merged right after the actual movie had come out.
Yeah,
So they've owned this since I think they bought this right after Halloween Kills came out.
and it was a pretty pricey
I think it was like
price tag
four
there, I think.
hundred
So
million dollars or
yeah,
something.
so they want some sort of return on their investment. So I think casting Scarlett Johansson's probably like, hey, we're trying to make a go of this. We're kind of cast some name actors, try to garner some interest, especially after David Gordon Green's just not really hitting with a lot of people. I think they have to build some good faith to get people back in the theater for this one.
Yes. I'm actually gonna pull something up here, because I know I did see some people complaining about this, just saying that like they feel like she's gonna be in every single movie, and everything now. It's like, just the same thing that happens anytime a certain actor is like getting the spotlight or getting more stuff. I just wanted to point out that her last movie was Jurassic World Rebirth. I know a lot of us have opinions about that movie. A lot of people say that movie sucks and is the worst Jurassic Park movie ever. But that movie also made $868 million worldwide and $339 million domestically. So to those people, and I'm not saying the people in the chat here, I'm just saying to people online, why are you all seeing these movies if you hate them so much? Number one, and number two, that can only mean great things for this, as far as the eyes of shareholders, the eyes of people who fund these and hopefully give people a kind of a push in the right direction. Is that if you have a talent like Scarlett Johansson wanting to work with Mike Flanagan, I mean, I think this is great. I think this is awesome. I think that she's a very talented actress. Like, do we all forget that before she was in Jurassic Park and all this other stuff that she's been in, she was just in like a run of wonderful indie performances with like her and Jojo Rabbit and all these other wonderful movies that she did. It's like she's a fantastic actress, and to have her work with one of the best horror directors in, I guess, the modern age, I think this is great. I think that this is exactly the kind of person you want at the front of your movie like this.
Yeah, it's certainly going to garner a lot of interest. I know this was a pretty big headline with a lot of people, and I think that's kind of what you need. to get back on track here. And for me, like you said, when she puts on performances with more serious content, I think she's great. So I think, having Mike Flanagan helmless and have a better idea of how to re-rack the Exorcist franchise and get more out of it than what we got with the David Gordon Green one. I have way more faith in that, just because when we dive into a lot of the supernatural tales, he does approach them from a more unique perspective than what we see for a lot of theatrical releases. So I think I have way more confidence now that Mike Flanagan's on board casting someone like Scarlett Johansson, to see what they're going to bring here. Like, I think it could be really exciting. But again, we're so early on right now, and I don't know. I don't want to get too positive, but I have faith in this one finally.
Oh, I think like for me, like I'm only going to be positive because like at this point I'm such a diehard Flanagan fanboy that like I'm just gonna ride it all the way out. Like I think that he's gonna do great. I mean, it's one of those things like yes, he does do Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
That's one of those. Yeah, he is responsible for that and stuff. And it's like I just think like there's nothing he's done in recent memory that hasn't like hit with me or I found very interesting. It's like even Life of Chuck is a movie I've been really kind of, I think just the holiday season has got me in the mood to watch that movie because it's a very, very emotionally cathartic kind of film. I think releasing that what was that, in the spring? Was it in May that we saw that,
Yeah.
or June?
Yep. Yep.
Now that I'm looking at it, that's like a terrible time to release this movie. It's like this movie should be coming out right now. Like it's such a wholesome movie, and it's so different. And like seeing him, like first, I guess he'll come back here with Carrie, which will be exciting. Seeing him back with King again, but this time back in the horror side of King, and then really seeing him kind of like come back with The Exorcist. I mean, I think there's a chance that Exorcist may be his biggest movie ever. I think that might be his biggest box office swing. I think he's gearing up for that. Just because he's got such, because even people who don't like horror like Mike Flanagan stuff. Like, and I'm talking about my mother-in-law and I'm talking about my wife who like they like my wife is getting more into horror, but it's one of those things where my mother-in-law hates blood and guts. She always thinks horror and associates it with that. Fucking loved Haunting of Hill House and all that stuff. Has seen all of his series, loves everything the dude does. It's the perfect kind of supernatural. I think he's aces for this property, and I think it's going to be a knock out of the park. I'm going full force, full hog.
I think the Netflix relationship with Mike Flanagan had done wonders for his career, just because he was able to get
Yes.
so notable properties on there. Because it's like, I remember talking about Mike Flanagan and so many people not having seen Hush at the time, and then kind of going back and rewatching that one, but seeing like Haunting of Hill House and really getting a taste of Mike Flanagan. And that's where it's like, when I think of The Exorcist and you look at something like Midnight Mass, I mean, come on, how can he not? He tackles religious horror perfectly. I think Midnight Mass is one of the best TV series ever created, and I think to translate that over into something like The Exorcist, where you said, a lot of people are fans of Mike Flanagan and will go see something because of Mike Flanagan, but then also people will go see something just because it's titled The Exorcist. It is a legacy property, so I think you're going to be able to get people into the theater to check this one out, just because of who's attached and the franchise itself. So I think this one could be, like you said, it has a potential to be his biggest release yet, because it already has a built-in franchise of an audience member, I think, to an extent. I don't know if people have completely soured since Believer or not, but I think this one has that built-in audience. He has a built-in audience as well.
That's what I'm saying. I
So
think the name recognition might kind of save this one from having that stink
yeah,
from Believer. I think that and I think they really need to push that. They need to make that in the marketing. Like the guy who brought you Haunting of Hill House,
yeah.
go with his big ones. Go with that. Go with Doctor Sleep. It's like just really hit you with the big shit that people know him for. And I think that that'll work because I just think like he's going to knock the material out of the park. Like I think that he's one of very few people. Now, if I wanted an Exorcist movie to be like gobsmacked terrifying, yeah, it would have been Damien Rugna that should have done this. But I think that like this, of all people in Hollywood right now who are like big name in horror or just big name directors, Mike Flanagan works for this. And I think that this is going to be the redemption shot that it's been looking for. And also, I sent this article over to our good buddy Evan from Rockland Graves, and he only responded with, "Thank God, this means the project's not dead." Because yeah, it had been a while actually since we had any official updates on this, and it was getting kind of scary. So it was getting worrisome. So I'm glad that we are moving forward with this.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Flanagan just has a ton on his plate. So it's like, yeah, I remember this popping up and then remembering I saw Carrie mention. I was like, oh, yeah, he is working on the
Yeah,
Carrie
and
TV
that's coming
series as
out
well.
early next year,
I think
or is
so.
it fall of next year?
I think pretty early, at least last time I checked, but I don't know if it's changed. But him tackling these properties, there's a reason why Mike Flanagan has so many things on his plate right now with a good relationship with Stephen King, which he's worked really well in translating those properties. Life of Chuck was just something that was a different flavor from what we usually see on our channel here, but what a lovely film that is. And that's where it's like, look at that film, look at the character building of that, and then just bring that over, bring the tension from Midnight Mass, the horror from Haunting of Hill House, where I talked about South Korea really does do well with like the supernatural elements. I think Mike Flanagan is another one, is just another person that's able to really do well in the supernatural space to make it feel unique, make it feel a little bit different than what we see with a lot of other supernatural films. So that's why I think he's the right person to tackle the Exorcist franchise and to get this thing back on track.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I was just looking through here. I completely like must have missed that Amber Midthunder was cast in this. I knew Matthew Lillard was going to be in this, but like you got likes of Heather Graham in this as well, Katie Sackhoff. Like there's a lot of good people in this, so I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this one. I think this will be fun. I know we had, I believe it was Mama Mayhem. Let me see. Yeah, I said they don't want another Carrie movie. They already have 3, and nothing will ever compare to the original. So they just need to stop. To that, Mama Mayhem, I say, just give our boy Mike a chance. I think he might impress you. You might be happy with this. And then you can say that there are 2 that do really well that compare to the original. So there you go.
And
There you go.
I guess, I look at the TV series a little bit different as well. I
Yeah.
love Sissy Spacek, it's like Carrie, I grew up watching that film and the the pig's blood was just absolutely terrifying to me. Like that whole scene with the bucket dropping, her being drenched, the imagery there is so strong. And it's like I understand what Mama Mayhem's saying because I have an absolute love for that film. But I think it's easier for me to accept it being a TV series, especially with Mike Flanagan attached, to say this is going to be a different kind of storytelling. So, like, I think that the original is going to be my definitive carry. That's what I absolutely love. That's what I grew up with. But I think the TV series, I'm excited for them to tackle this more long form to see what kind of texture they can add to the storytelling. I'm looking for something slightly different. I want a different experience than what I see with the film because I'm assuming these are probably going to be an hour long and we're probably going to get like 8 episodes. So that really leaves a lot of room to play, a lot of room to build these characters and build a lot of unique tension. And then we kind of get that great culmination that we're used to in the Carrie franchise and all the iterations that we've seen. So I think I'm excited to see what he's going to do here because I think he could really build a lot of interesting storytelling.
Tell you what I do with Carrie. You know what I do? I open it up. First episode is prom night. First episode is the climax of the film, the first movie. See all this shit happen, everything goes crazy. But instead of I forget, it's been a while since I've seen Carrie. Doesn't she die at the end? She gets yanked down in the ground or some shit, or her mom pulls her in,
Yeah,
or
I
is it
think
the end of
so.
the
Yeah, I haven't seen it in
point?
a minute, but yeah, I think she's like dead
Point
technically.
is she kills her mom, all that stuff. But it's like we kind of go through all that shit. And then the next thing that we see is the story takes a big turn, and it's all detectives. It's all detectives that we've seen, probably some actors Mike Flanagan's worked with many, many times. And they're all just sitting there interviewing people. Like we'll just take Robert Longstreet as one of the detectives in there. He's interviewing the people, and he starts going through everybody. Each episode goes through a central character to the Carrie story who's still alive, and they give what they think happened from their perspective. And then at the end, they interview Carrie, and she gives her entire life perspective, and that's when we start to know who her mom is and everything. That's what we do. That's how I change it up.
I would start off just like with the incident like you're talking about, and she's walking out of the school and it's all on fire and she's just doused in pig's blood and she's walking down the street. And we're with her for like, awkwardly long 2 minutes of her just walking down the street, and then she walks past a sign and it says, "Welcome to Hawkins, Illinois."
And then 11, and then everybody start coming out and they start fighting her.
Yes.
All right. And then
Perfect
they
mashup.
then they throw Carrie through with their brain power, the telepathy. They throw her way off into the forest, way past, just on the border of Hawkins there. And it's
Demogorgon shows up.
No. Hold on. We're not there yet. Lands just right on like a muddy patch next to a lake. And then there's a sign when she stands up, and it says Camp Crystal Lake. And then that's how we get Friday the 13th in there.
There it is. Let's just throw them all in there.
And there you go. That's what's
and then
up.
Peach Fuzz is back there lingering in the woods.
And then she starts running because Jason's coming after her, and he's already dealt with like a Carrie knockoff before, so he's well equipped for this. And then the Demogorgon shows up, and then we have Jason versus the Demogorgon.
That's the build-up we need. That's the verses we finally need.
And then she's gonna fall and hit her head on a rock, and she's gonna wake up, and then she's gonna be in a room, and it's gonna be Peach Fuzz pretending to be Jigsaw, and he's gonna be trying to play a game. There you go. Let's do it. I like it. Let's get a writer's room going every Sunday after the Sunday Scaries. We're gonna meet here. And we're going to start writing. We're going to work on this. Okay. We're going to pitch this to all the studios that have all the rights to those characters we mentioned.
Back here. It'll be like an 8 episodic season, and each one tackles a different horror property. We just got to see how many we can throw in.
Just keep going every
organically.
Episode. Yeah. It's like, it has to make sense. You can't just like half-ass something. You got to really like work it in. Like, you got to start connecting bloodlines of different characters from different families. Like, yeah, we find out that Steve Harrington's like cousins with the Winchesters from Supernatural. And then suddenly it's like they have to show up, and they're in there for a little bit. And then Scooby-Doo shows up. So it's like, you just keep going. We got it. See, everybody loves it. This is why we're going to take over Hollywood.
There it is.
Yeah, you can't say, or dairy. Yep. That's what I honestly thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say dairy, but you switched it up on us. So.
I was like, we got to go telepathy.
Got to throw a curve ball. Yeah, I feel you. Well, Luke, why don't we move on into the final story of the evening here, sir? The last one we got up on the docket for us this week.
Well, we got a release this week. Apparently, I forgot that it was coming out this week, actually, until I was building the outline. Five Nights at Freddy's Part 2 or 2.
I know.
I don't know. We're returning. We're gonna have a slice of pizza, apparently. But we have Stu Macher and Billy Loomis in this one. Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich will be in this one here. So I don't know. The last one did not have me on board, but a lot of people are pretty positive on it, Dylan. I still don't know what to make of it. I haven't went back and revisited it. I don't know if I should. I remember it being let down, even though I'm not a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan. So I don't know if maybe that was the issue for me. But this one does not have me on board. It doesn't look bad, but I feel like we're just going to get more of the same of what we had in the first one.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm definitely with you there. It's certainly one of those things where it's a little bit like, okay, I don't know what to think with this because I wasn't big on the first one. I thought that like it was a cool idea, but I don't necessarily know if the fact that it's kind of because from what I remember, I don't think the games were always necessarily geared towards children. I think children can play them, but like I feel like they had a little bit more edge to them. So I've never really understood where the audience is for this like kind of movie because they do kind of walk that line between being a little bit more harsh, but also like always pulling their punches at the same time. Yeah. It's like it's very strange. But I mean, I think that like, you know, if they can hit this with a little bit of an interesting, you know, kind of twist. I've been really staying away from the trailers. I don't necessarily know what the story is going to be for this one. So, and I think that's for the better if I'm going to really get any kind of love out of this. But I don't know. I mean, it's a huge franchise, so I can't hate on people and kids, especially who love this, and this is for them. But am I excited for it? Uh, eh, no. But like, I'll
Yeah.
watch it. So
That's where I think I'm at with it as well. I do think, looking at that first film, didn't expect anything that was gonna be graphic or any sort of violence like that, but I think and I haven't watched it, like I had mentioned, since that first viewing, but I think it was kind of just like they did, like, a silhouette of a kill or something like that, and I was like, "Ah, they're really playing it real safe here," where it's like, I don't need blood and guts all over the place, but I was like, "Maybe we can push that PG-13 feel just, a little extra, get as close as we can." It just felt like yeah, it was a franchise that was not geared toward us, which is fine, but it's something where you look at those puppets, the Jim Henson puppets, and they're just like perfect. They're what we want when we talk about practical effects. So then it's hard for me not to want something that is for me when I watch this because aesthetically it looks very nice. I'm like, this has all the makings of something that I just want to go really into the horror space with, but it never fully gets there. And I think maybe that's my continuing disappointment with this is like I think going into it, hey, looks great from a practical aspect of it. It's just not going to satisfy me from a horror aspect.
yeah, Gracie says I was a fan of FNAF years ago and did not like the movie. I was gonna watch for Mangle and the puppet because they're my favorite. I have zero faith in the story. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, I don't remember what exactly the controversy was, but I thought there was like a fair bit of controversy from the fans about the first film, like kind of changing the lore, in some instance that kind of like changes it from the games. I don't know. It's just this is just something that seemed like it's such a straightforward idea that should work. It is a like the souls of children that from what I understand, I guess like they live inside these animatronics and then they kill people who come
And they
into the
eat
thing.
pizza.
They
They
yes,
eat
they I
pizza,
get
man.
maybe they eat pizza. I don't know. But they you know what? It's like that's great. I just don't know, like, when they add all this extra stuff on top of it, like all this craziness, it's like, why don't we just get down to like actually making these things creepy and scary and having some fun with it? Because I feel like that's what we didn't do with the first one. We got so caught up with establishing a universe that we didn't necessarily focus on making those characters relatable, scary, or interesting at all.
I think that's what's missing with these because you look at some things that are probably just gateway horror to us that don't go deep into graphic horror or anything like that, but they're so much fun when you build up the tension and really just play with that aspect of it. And I think that first film just kind of fell into I don't know. For me, I remember watching it and thinking there was a real lack of effort in terms of really building this horror story. It really felt like there's a moment in there that I think is supposed to be an emotional beat, and I was like, this is really weird. This didn't feel like it was earned. I'm not connecting with these characters. And I don't need, like I said, a bunch of blood and guts. I just wanted a lot of great tension because these practical puppets, they look great. They're off putting already. And when you get them lit just right, and I think, that first film has some decent aesthetic to it as well. It just never really got to where I wanted it to be with any sort of tension. It's like you can still tell a great PG-13 horror story and not without the blood and guts and have some fun with it. I just don't think it was there for Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, and I think that's just where this is going to probably sit, where it is going to kind of be one of those things where it will more or less remain gateway horror stuff in a way. And it's like, I don't think it's ever going to work for us. But hey, I think we're supposed to, there should be a screening for this then. So I imagine we have a screening coming up this week. I don't know if we got invites or not. I just checked with our rep for that one. So we'll see. But I think like overall where I sit with this one is like this movie could blow me out of the water and I'd love it and I'd be happy as a clam. But it could be just complete nonsensical garbage and I will be fine with it because it's just, I've surrendered myself to it. I tried to get into this. I tried to find out what it is, but I think it's just one of those things that it's just it's after my time. It's just not something that really I connected with. I understand the kids who grew up with it, the people who love it now, and I fully support it because I got my own shit like that. But it's one of those things where it's just not really something that I can really just when I see Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't get excited. You know what I mean? Like I don't have that in me.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's a source of my frustration because I didn't grow up with the games. I didn't play the games. I've seen them played, and to an extent, it's never anything that I've watched that regularly. So I know of the concept. I think it's a decent concept. I love the idea of these animatronics coming to life, and that's where it's like I feel like I should love that first film. Like that's what never thought it would be my go-to in any sort, but I felt like this would be a fun. Let me just show this on because it's got great practical effects and it's a little tongue in cheek, and I can have some fun with it. And it wasn't there. It was pretty void of that from that first viewing, just very vanilla, I think. And I was expecting some sort of personality, some fun horror that I can be like, get a good chuckle off and be like, oh, this is great for, kids growing up. And I'd love this if I was a younger version of myself. But I would have my doubts then as well. I just think there was something missing with that from a character perspective. It never really hit with me, unfortunately. So I don't know. I'm gonna go into this one with an open mind. I have a low expectation that I would ever love this or rewatch it in any sense, but hey, maybe they'll surprise me. I think this could be a franchise that has some gas in the tank. I feel like we're probably going to get to like the fifth installment before I find something that I really enjoy from this. It's just going to be kind of out there because I think these things are always going to make money. There is already a built-in audience for this, and people are going to go see it. So I'm hoping that at least one of these installments, because I'm sure we're going to get a handful more of these, that at least one of them is going to resonate with me. But we'll see if maybe part 2 does.
Yep, that is certainly what will happen. We will have to wait and see, but won't be that long. So sometime this week. So we'll get around to it. Anyone have any news on what's happening with the movie test screening? Nope, not a thing. I should reach
Well,
out
yeah, that's what I was going
to
to say.
our
We should reach
contact.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, and ask if anything might happen, but I not a thing, but definitely can't wait till that one is.
It's obscene how long whatever's going on with taking so long for this film to come out to find distribution or whatever is
Because that
absolutely
was
obscene.
2 Fantastic Fests ago now. So it was not this past one, but the
I
one
believe so,
prior.
yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Or was that Fantasia? One of the
And
two. It's one of the F
it
festivals.
was one of them.
But yeah, and it's like, yeah,
And
it's such a
it's an absolute must see.
it's
Like,
so well done too. It's like it's one of those things where it's like I don't understand if there's like a holdup. I don't know what people are not seeing in this movie. Like I don't get it. Like it's just like, dude, come on. Like this was actually very,
es
very good. Good.
especially after something like, uh,
The
oh my
Substance.
gosh, yes, sorry, The Substance, and then with Stranger Things coming out, all this stuff is like
It's all in
it's a
line with it.
perfect mashup of stuff like that. It's like it fits right in there with what people want right now.
Yeah, I think I will reach out to him this week then, just because I want to. That is so right. Like with Stranger Things and everything right now, it's all just kind of hitting those buttons. It's like this. If this was coming out, like if this movie would have came out beginning of November, would have been amazing. Would have been a perfect time for it. Okay, whatever, fine. But yeah, that's I think that's going to wrap us up there, folks, with the news. So I got one last thing, right? We're not doing anything else. I'm
No.
not forgetting anything. I know we don't have Adrian here, so it's I'm also racking the controls, so I tend to forget little things. But uh, one little treat I had for you guys. So with tomorrow being December 1st, I know we've grown a lot in the last year, so thank you guys so much for that. But there's a lot more of you who were not here last December. So I need to make you guys know and let you guys know that we do a little celebration. We do December to Dismember every year, where we cover basically all horror like holiday stuff. We try to tackle a theme very similar to the Halloween special stuff, where this year with the Halloween stuff we wanted to do a couple of bigger videos that were a little bit more finely edited, a little bit more packing punches. For December to Dismember, we're going to have a lot more interactive stuff, where we're hoping to do some streams. We're hoping to do some fun stuff like that, where we're watching stuff with guests. We're going to try to hopefully, I think we can at least say the movie. We're going to be trying to watch Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5, The Toy Maker, with a couple
Pino.
of our buddies who we've done a lot of content with. You guys are all familiar with. We got a list of people we've already got who agreed to it. We got some stuff coming up. I know we got a video we're talking to do with Evan and Daniel from the Cobwebs. Evan, obviously, Rockland Graves, for those of you. And yeah, it's like we got a lot of stuff here that we are lined up, locked in, ready to go. We're just basically waiting to do those. So, with that said, though, we only celebrate the 12 days. That's when all the content will come towards you, the 12 days of Christmas, because otherwise it's another crazy month. I want to just say a fair warning also, because when I uploaded this, I realized that I did the final version and the volume's going to be a little high. So if you want to do yourself a favor, I'll give you 10 seconds to kind of turn your volume down just a tiny bit, guys. I apologize. I'm just nervous that this is going to be a little loud, but I will show you now the logo intro of what we're doing and what the theme is for this year's December to Dismember. Lots of fun. Yes. So we are doing Yuletide Fears. And Luke, I know I've been doing all the talking. So you are the one who formulated this year's theme. So why don't you let the folks know where that inspiration comes from?
Oh, well, actually, that is a line from Santa's Sleigh. That I think last year we had watched it, and I just kind of wrote that down. I thought it was a great off take of just the seasonal horror would work. So I think we're going to try to, we don't really necessarily have a definitive theme this year with everything. We're going to try to do some kind of folk Norse, maybe fit some of those reviews in if we have the time. There's a handful out there that we can get into, but with that, we have another combined list that we're going to be doing that seems to be a lot of fun. We're compiling that one right now. So we should have that out as well, some individual lists from both of us. So I'm going to try to do a bigger list, and then I have a more creative list that I'm hoping to get done throughout December.
Yeah, and like I'll be doing some more disturbing stuff. I think that's also a good time to mention kind of I guess the new format as far as lists are going to go, guys. So that way we've been trying really hard the last few months to kind of figure out what the flow is going to be on this channel. And like, yeah, it's been a lot of ups and downs for us, just I guess with just like personal lives too, like a lot of crazy stuff happening. But you know, I think we finally found, I think, maybe the missing piece. So it's one of those things for me where it's like, I think like these top 10 lists where you get both Luke and I, and we formulate a list together, not only easier to edit and get out in a more efficient manner, I think they also give us an opportunity to kind of stretch our legs. And also, one thing that I think has been kind of odd and something that I think has been an issue on our front is the fact that we do most of our content, honestly, that you guys watch, that all you guys who are here and watch our stuff regularly, you know that both of us are here. But there's a lot of people who just watch our disturbing lists or our lists in general, and they are shocked when they see that there's two of us. So it's like, you know, it's one of those things where I think the top tens, having both of us there, kind of bridges that and will hopefully kind of create more of a, I guess, more fun. So the current trend right now is going to basically be like starting off since last week. I released a list, and then Luke was the one before. This week will be our top 10 list. We have a top 10 already in the bag, so we're going to be putting that out on Friday. That'll be a lot of fun. It's a really fun topic that I forced Luke to make a top 10 because he had it for his fives, and I said, I love it so much that you have to give it to me. And if you don't, I will hit you. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. Don't beat us up, YouTube.
He spanks me.
But yeah, no. So we have that's going to be a lot of fun. And then it will be Luke's list next. And then it will be mine. So it'll be basically every week you'll have a different perspective, whether it's both of us or one of us individually. Again, that's going to kind of be my way to stay up on this reaction disturbing stuff that you guys like, just because I know that's kind of where a lot of you guys come from and where a lot of you guys flock to. It'll also give Luke opportunity to focus on the series he's got going on with like his Japanese horror and a lot of the fun concepts he's been running with. And then the top tens again are just going to be able to open so many more doors. And I think that will also be fun because I think with top tens we'll just be able to do a lot broader topics. Like we'll be able to actually sit down and be like, just do like 10 Christmas horror movies we love, and just like sit down, or just like, you know, what are 10 slasher movies that take place in camps or something, you know what I mean? Like just something stupid like that we can just have fun talking about a wide variety of movies.
I think that's where the beauty of the top 10 is going to be, because we have to be kind of strategic with our top fives in terms of what we think would produce. There's a lot of fun concepts, but they kind of, so many other channels have done those, so they're not going to be strong enough to stand as standalone top fives. So there's a lot of things that fit in that category that have just been done to death. But hey, Dylan and I have not had a chance to do them, but we can't justify doing a top five dedicated for that. But if we could do it as a top 10 and kind of have these discussions that we normally have, it kind of gives a different perspective of that. So it's like we can work on those top fives and then also do those top tens. It may be more general topics that maybe you've seen on other channels that we don't have to be as so niche with, which will be a lot of fun, because those are things that Dylan and I have both talked about. We just we haven't been able to justify doing it until we kind of came up with the top 10 concept. So that's really exciting, because there's so many on there that we've compiled a list ever since we've decided to do these top 10s, of things that we've been meaning to talk about, just haven't gotten around to yet. So that list is ever growing. Every time we talk, I think we add something else to that list, because we just have so many different ideas that we've been sitting on. And it's like, well, now this works better with the top 10. So we've got a lot of that coming out. Like Dylan said, individual ones as well. So we're kind of getting the rhythm there. And then it kind of gives us even a little extra time, I think, to produce those individual lists, but then also sometimes produce smaller individual lists as well. If we have the extra time to do it, maybe not as long as the 25 to 30-minute individual list, but maybe even like a 12 to 15-minute list if time allows, which I think will be a really nice to kind of open up our schedules to diversify, if you will.
Yeah, and I think it's just because it was just getting into a weird cycle where it's like it just felt like each of us trading off every week. It was almost getting to the point where we had it for a while and it was going well, but then one person, whether it's myself or Luke, if we had something come up in our personal lives or just something happened, like I remember at the beginning of the summer telling you guys, like when we first started this, I had my power go out 5 times between the month of June and May, or May and June. It was like one of those things where it's just like, it was crazy. So it's like it's just one of those things where that stuff like really threw us off our game and threw us off of a schedule. But with this, having this kind of like the 10, it not only bridges a gap for us between connecting the audience, but then also like you said, it just gives each of us exactly 2 weeks, if done right, to work on our separate lists, which in all reality, if we want to do them to the ability, our highest performing lists have always been the ones that like we can spend a good deal of time on, and we're not feeling like we have to rush or make a bunch of compromises because of YouTube and all that. And that's the other thing that's been a big challenge, is like there's been a lot of times where we'll post something and it'll be sitting there for a little bit, and then YouTube will flag it, or we'll just be getting it up because we had to do more censoring and stuff. Hopefully this will give us an opportunity to get ahead as well, so that way we're just on a very, very like sturdy schedule for you guys, because I think that's going to be the best way to keep the channel alive. It's going to keep us happy, and again, it keeps us giving you guys videos consistently without having to delay stuff. So that's the hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I think we've experienced it certainly within the past probably 2 months, just because we had like a festival after a festival and trying to get into the month of October, and where we're trying to, whether it's Dylan working on a list or me, especially alternating, where it's like, okay, we also have to catch up on these screeners, where it's like having this kind of rotational allow us to get all the screeners that we have to watch done, so that they're released in a timely manner as well. If like the embargo lifts on the 12th, well, we can have it up right at the 12th because we've already both watched it and had a chance to record it. So it kind of just opens up a bunch of different avenues to us to be a little bit more timely, so we can kind of get those stuff out to you guys, especially when it's something where you have to decide if you're going to spend $15 streaming it or go to the theater, because we want to try and get that stuff out to you guys, so you guys know at least our take to say, is it worth doubling down and spending the money on it, or is it kind of maybe wait through streaming, because we try to get those reviews out to you as soon as possible, just so you guys have a reference point if you care about our takes anyway.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. But I think like overall, I just feel very happy, confident, and excited, especially this week. Again, this has been a fun one. I've been working on thumbnails and basically just getting things ready to go for this list that it's going to be coming out for basically for like 3 weeks now, since the day before I went on vacation. I think we settled on this. So yeah, it's like it's been in
Yeah,
prep,
a
and
lot
I'm
of
ready to
strong
rock.
titles in this one too.
Yeah, it was a fun one to put together, and like I'm excited to get it out there. So I think that'll be good. And yeah, like I said, I said it in the actual video itself, but I'm holding true to it. Disturbing stuff for me, at least coming from me, is going to be a constant. I'm sure Luke is going to continue to dabble in disturbing, but also probably dip into some other stuff here and there. I know a lot of people really liked the phobias list, as far as just like all the comments and feedback for that was really positive. So, I think that's a good one. And yeah, I think that we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. And I think that's the other thing too that we're kind of learning is like these lists and these bigger videos where we like basically keep up with all of the more niche stuff as opposed to everything that's new that's coming out. It's like it seems like you guys really respond to these a lot more. So it's like if that's what you guys want and that's more or less what you like hearing from us, like hey, it just saves us more time and energy too if we don't try to see every new release movie, because especially ones that like we just know we're not going to be big on. But like if we can take that time and just spend it on giving you guys extra lists, extra fun and analysis videos. I know one thing I want to work in eventually is individual like analysis videos eventually, whether that's another channel or not. But I know like we both have aspirations to talk about certain horror movies like in depth, and we just want to get that to you guys as well. So we're ever growing, we're ever learning, and we appreciate you guys sticking with us. So yeah, sorry for the impromptu town hall at the end of this episode of the Sunday Scaries, but it was important and we had to get it out. So
A meeting of the minds. It's always fun.
oh yeah, absolutely. And yes, we appreciate you as well, Stephanie, Smiley, Hoblone, everybody who was here today, all of you wonderful people for sticking with us, chatting with us, talking all the horror news and just all the topics, all the TV shows, the holidays. It was a good episode. And next week we'll be back here again with, of course, Bottom Guy back in his position, as well as hopefully a lot of new news stepping in to December, where yes, again, the last 12 days we'll be doing December to Dismember. So keep an eye out for that, folks. Yes, we'll be dealing with lots of kind of folklore, Nordic horror, Yuletide fears. It'll be a good time. So, all righty. That's it. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horror shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.